content's the hardest thing to develop. It's getting a client to populate something with content is challenging, especially when they're not necessarily tech savvy or pro bloggers or anything. So this kind of content generation will be important in the future. The archives, again, right now it's pretty sophisticated, but we want to improve on that. And we have the tools to do that. We just need to slowly grow it. Mobile's a big deal. We did not build this site for mobile browsers. It displays okay on the iPhone and some other ones, but we all know that mobile's important. It's coming fast, and that's a goal for the future is mobile view. And the last one here is the unknown. Who knows what technologies and what priorities for actors might come in a year or two. So we really feel like we built out this site and we prepared it to grow and to change for the future. WordPress, again, it was a great solution here because of the control that the client has and the ability to do new things on the site. So I'm real happy about how that came about. And we're already getting requests that may change the architecture of the site in the near future. So again, I feel like the code and the design and the architecture is flexible enough to help that happen. All right, so I breezed through that pretty quickly. Does anybody have any questions?
Did you start off with WordPress in mind for it, or were you just trying to come up with a solution and WordPress fit? How did WordPress get plugged into this project? Because you're a web design company per se, but not necessarily stuck on WordPress, right?
Right. That's a really good question. WordPress has been our content management platform for a couple years of, I don't want to say of choice, but it's kind of the de facto what we use. And when we came into this project, it was specific. It really didn't seem like a candidate for WordPress. We didn't want to build, we've got a couple websites that we've built some pretty massive plugins for. We didn't want to do that. We didn't feel like it was the right way to build a site going forward. You know, every project that you do, you learn a few lessons and you improve your development on the next sites. So I think it was really that visit to WordCamp that gave us the confidence that WordPress could be that tool. I mean, I personally was of the opinion that a lot of this stuff that we built might have to be custom code, but custom post types came into the debate early on when they announced 3.0, and it's like, oh my God, if this does what we think it might be able to do, it's done. And that actually turned out to be the case. So, yeah, we do stuff in Cake. We've used other content management systems, but WordPress is fast becoming, and again, it's part of that WordPressy argument that some people have. It's switched very quickly from being a blogging tool to a content management platform, and that's what I try to tell people. You know, don't think about WordPress has nothing to do with designs. That's all the themes that people are building and distributing, and that's an entirely different argument than WordPress as a content management platform.
I just want to add that it's about organizing information, and the main thing I brought away from hours of stakeholder meetings, hours and hours and hours of stakeholder meetings, is that they have this essentially the same information that they need to use in multiple ways. So Group A needs the exact same information as Group C, they just want to do something different with it. And that was those taxonomies and custom post types. Group A wants it to display as a blog in this area, and Group C it needs the exact same information, but in the events calendar as show times and event information. So they were able to program it that way so that, or use WordPress to display those informations regardless of how the stakeholder needed it. So WordPress was the ideal choice when it came to that. Once you had that realization that it's the same information going in different directions, it really fit together very nicely.
Yeah. WordPress solves a lot of problems that have been around web development for a long time. So I don't want to be a fanboy of WordPress by any means, but it doesn't do e-commerce well. It doesn't do forms well. There's some other things it doesn't do well. But again, as a content management platform, as a starting point, it's pretty strong. I think it solves maybe 80%. It's a good answer for 80% of the problems that we have to solve as a company. So,
What issues do you have with it within forms?
Forms?
Have you used Gravity Forms?
No.
We've tried them before.
Have you?
We've tried them before on projects.
Yeah, I think
It's not really what we stick with all the time, but I can see where it can be used.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I guess the big takeaway from this talk is process. I know we have run into time and time again projects where we feel like we don't have enough time and we need to just jump straight into design and development. And that this project seemed to prove that that's not really the case. If you spend enough of your front end time architecting what you want to do and kind of work through those scenarios just with wireframes before you hit code, you really do solve a lot of problems. The people who have to write the code are in much better shape because those questions that they're going to hit when they start to develop are already answered. So if I'm in the calendar and I click this and I want to do this, what happens? When you're at the code stage and you have to figure that stuff out, it's really the wrong time to answer that question. You need to think about it before you hit that. And that's been, it's an ongoing process. It's never going to be perfect, but from what we found, it's definitely helpful to try to think that stuff out before you hit code.
Not really to snuff the question, but it's definitely something that we're going to cover in depth in the next one. So,
Yeah.
not to lose more people than we already have. But,
Right.
the next talk, we definitely take a look at the exact details of how we get into WordPress. So, although we knew we probably always were going to use WordPress, we weren't really sure how. And so, we kind of take a deeper look at how and what, and even some code in the next part of this talk.
Okay. I encourage you guys to dig through the Actor site. Again, it's pretty fun at this point to make a site in WordPress and have it not look like WordPress. Some of the functionalities of the homepage and whatnot that J-Mac's going to talk about is a really sophisticated use of the technology. Bless you. Anything else? All right. Thank you.